did you go to school?
What do you think of what's going on right now, mate?
These evil little invisible parasites.
Satan-worshipping Freemason morons.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
We're not run by factions.
Get the fuck out of camera!
There are much more powerful international forces in play.
Is this pink guy? Is this what pink guy is? I don't fucking know what's happening.
Please go outside and look at the moon quickly.
It's been crazy, guys, but guess what? It's how it is, mate.
Mate, because I want to do you slowly.
But I ain't spending any time on it.
Well, g'day, patrons, and welcome to our overflow episode. It's a week before Christmas, a little bit more than a week. So 15th of the 12th, 2022, and we simply want to say, firstly, thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you for your continued support of the Conditional Release program, and it's many arms and legs now. It's, octopus-like. And we have a number of podcasts coming out all the time. We thank you for your support and allowing us to make that happen. Of course, the big news this week is the Wieambilla massacre. Basically, the shooting death, the ambush and shooting death of two police officers, one other wounded, another
and the neighbour, must be said,
and the neighbour, of course, a
58-year-old
neighbour.
He just comes over to check things out, and he gets fucking shot in the back. It's horseshit.
He came over. This was after the police were dead. He came over into the train property because the trains had set a fire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, to smoke out the cops.
Smoke out the police officer who were basically in hiding in
just a good bloke coming to give a hand. I mean, fuck.
Yeah, are you okay?
You cunt.
You
so
okay?
hard.
And presumably saw what was going on because he was shot in the back. So
I suppose so. But at the same time, I don't want to harp too much at the start, but with this whole thing, we do have a big anti-cop rhetoric. It's this the idea that the cops are being sort of targeted.
It's absolute bullshit. I mean, I'm sick and tired of listening to it. These are young police officers. One the survivor, the sort of hero. She was less than 3 months out of the academy. I know it's not what you're talking about, but there's been a lot of anti-cop rhetoric.
I'll counter my point.
There's been a lot of anti-cop rhetoric coming out, a lot from cookers, a lot from other people who should know better. Any time where this happens is just appalling. And I was just going to go on and say it has happened so rarely. And I was trying to think when this has happened in Australia before. We go to Walsh Street. The shootings, the execution-style murders of the Pettingill-linked gang by the Pettingill-linked gang of Constables Eyre and Walsh in 1988. The murders of Silk Miller, the two police officers, Silk and Miller, in 1998, also in Melbourne, Moorabbin. And then we just got to get to the Kelly gang, Yeah, this is how serious this is. It sort of gives you some sort of placement, and those murders I've just sort of cited there, those police killings that I've just cited there. We know the background of them. The background of them, Walsh Street, was criminal group, Silk Miller, similar criminal group or criminal individual there, master manipulator, psychopath, Kelly gang. We might even sort of include that broadly in as a sort of protest movement, although, if Kelly might have been Ned Kelly might have been anti-police, but that doesn't mean it's right to shoot a trainload full of them, which is essentially what he planned to do at Glenrowan. So, I mean, Ned Kelly shouldn't be a hero to anybody.
No, I totally agree. I'm just going to say, just quickly, so what I was meaning to say and what my actual point was is that we're seeing a lot of anti-cop rhetoric from this sort of conspiratorial right, and we've come to sort of normalize that. But I think something that should be considered in this story is the fact that if it was about killing cops, they would have let this guy go. And this is one of the things that I find really tricky, is the fact that this guy, who is a neighbour, who came over to check things out and make sure everything was all right, he got shot in the back for his troubles, and he wasn't a cop. I don't think they thought he was paid for by George Soros. So what? Once you start shooting people, you just don't stop. I mean, it's less about the targeted killing of police, and almost as if this guy was waiting for this moment to happen because he wanted to murder someone. Because otherwise, just in my, sort of basic taking of what the hell's going on here, you would have let the guy go. You would have said, "Fuck off, mate. Get out of here." What do you think? He's going to come back with a gun?
Really? I mean, we'll find out. There'll be a coronial inquest. We'll find out more as we go about this. But this seems to me to be a sort of a triple suicide pact. So they were going to take as many people down as they could.
Yeah, it's just the interesting thing of that, whether they were dead set on killing cops because they hate cops.
Yes,
and they
they
hate
were.
Authority.
There's no doubt about that. That ticks all those sort of sovcit boxes.
But it does leave that sort of thing of why did they shoot that neighbour? And it just feels like
they're not going to let him go,
murderous.
Joel. He's seen that neighbour has seen either
he's
seen
go and
their
call
murder
the cops
or
and
seen dead bodies in front of them.
Yeah, I guess so. Kill the witness
with bullet holes.
Yeah.
Or shotgun rounds. Hanging out and basically bleeding out. And so he's not going to make it. You know that. He's just collateral.
Yeah, I suppose so. Anyway, I really don't like these people. I don't like them at all.
All right. So, look, just in the last day, we recorded the main show, Joel and I, yesterday, and this took up a lot of time, obviously.
Yes.
In the conditional release program, Sandy and Sauce are on talking about baby Will, the child in New Zealand who required open heart surgery, and actually has gone through it now. But her Cooker parents had refused to allow her to receive vaccinated blood. It caused quite a stir with, I believe, the health ministry having to take charge of the child for a temporary
total fucking circus. The High Court was involved. It's just a complete fucking palaver, and it's so pointless. And it's all because of disinformation. I mean, these parents are just pilled. I feel sorry for them.
I can't think of two better people to talk about that than Sandy and Sauce. So,
fuck yeah.
So
absolutely.
when the program's out, I think it'll be out in a day or so from
hopefully
recording.
Tonight, probably tomorrow.
And you'll be able to listen to that. And then the rest of the show, of course, Joel and I were discussing what had happened in Western Queensland, and even since then, there's been more stuff that's come out. There's been some excellent journalism. Hats off to Rory Cullen and the ABC, who wrote a very comprehensive piece about
a lot of phone calls are made on the back of that.
Yeah,
it's huge.
I mean, we sort of knew there was something really murky going on. Stacey had married Nathaniel, and then that marriage fell over, and then she married Gareth. It was all very strange. Yeah. But the Callan piece, and there are others involved in the reporting of that piece, and I recommend that people read it. You should find it on the ABC News website. Yeah. It indicated that Stacey, as a teacher, and Gareth was this kind of social worker and sort of child development officer.
Yeah.
My God. And some of the stuff that he was doing. So Stacey was a victim of domestic violence. There was a witness there who saw him dragging Stacey by the hair up a flight of stairs. And we also heard stories about him slaughtering pigs basically on the boundary of a public school property. Where all the gore and blood and matter was left on the school playground for kids to see. So he sounds like an absolutely despicable human being, and obviously very controlling. We found out a little bit more about Nathaniel too. There's some stories, a little bit of speculation. We have had some Indigenous kids. He was said to be he was a school principal, of course, but he was said to be a specialist in Indigenous education. We've had some Indigenous kids come forward. And say that he was an awful person, that he basically, they talk about cold, dead eyes on the man. And
serious words.
And there were multiple complaints made about him. There were multiple complaints coming forward about his behaviour or performance from parents of students at Walgett, at the Walgett Public School in New South Wales. And the class had been reduced to basically nothing, and this is kind of what had happened when he was teaching in Queensland as well. So a very confused group of people getting together. It would seem that Gareth is the instigator. Nathaniel, of course, we know Stacey quit her job with the Queensland Education Ministry, quit her teaching position on the day before vaccine mandates came into effect in Queensland. So that tells you that she's pretty pilled. and then they set up in Wieambilla, and Nathaniel joins them, and it seems like Nathaniel has joined them somewhere between October and December.
Yeah, so since he sort of went missing as such.
Yeah, he did have a heart attack, and he left. He sort of left Walgett, and I believe that he had a partner there. And it may well have been the partner who's put in the missing person. I can't confirm that, but someone's
Did you say
triggered.
The dad was also possibly
I read today that the father had no contact with either of his sons for more than 20 years. And so it seems like someone else has triggered that missing persons report.
Sounds like it. Yeah, it could very well be the ex-partner.
And it very could, I'm not saying that's for certain, but someone has. And
there's a lot of fog of war here, but it's amazing what people have discovered.
Yeah, look, I mean, people leave footprints all over the place.
But people don't bother to find them. The journalism around this, I think, has been quite brilliant. And we'll get to the sort of Cooker thing later, but Max Egan was saying that was an example of why it's a false flag, because there's all this information coming out all of a sudden. It's like, but like, you don't understand journalism. You've made that very clear throughout your entire fucking life that you don't understand journalism. And once again, you don't understand journalism. This is why
we have incidents like this. Is why we have the mainstream media, because they will do the work. They will do the work, and they will establish facts. Now there'll be other processes. There'll be police investigations. There'll be major incident response reports. There'll be a coronial inquest. There may be other sort of judicial-based inquiries. Yeah, coronial inquest can't compel witnesses. I'm pretty sure that's the case in Queensland.
People may want to come forward, though.
Victoria. And you can refuse to answer on the grounds of self-incrimination and so forth. You can't in a normal court in the Australian legal framework. Yeah. So you got Nathaniel suffering a heart attack, and there are a couple of things that really chilled me to the bone, and we talked about them a little bit in some of them at least in the program yesterday. Nathaniel has gone to this property in October, possibly October or November, and then he's he's become a cop killer in the space of months. That is concerning. Yeah, that is a rapid rate of radicalisation. One of the this is almost, well, it's not quite trivial, but one of the shooters was wearing a ghillie suit. Now, for those who don't know what a ghillie suit is, it is a full camouflage suit. It's covers the head, covers the body, makes you look a bit like a tree. If you're just standing in the middle, you're like a shrub of nothing. Really, you look a bit like a shrub. That's right, Joe. Yeah. But obviously, you
sent me a photo of it earlier, and I was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. There was, just for the listeners, he randomly sends me a photo of this fucking thing with like a dude with a gun in this like ghillie suit thing, and no context. I think you meant to send a message next to it, but you didn't.
I sent you one earlier, but you chipped in before that, and I just said, "This is what one of the shooters was wearing."
And I was busy, so I just looked at him like, all right, cool. That's a picture.
So this is sort of kit that you would wear if you're a sniper or if you are lying in wait. And the Australians done some excellent reporting too today. Jamie Walker and the guys up there in Queensland, they've indicated that basically there was that the trains had set up the property that would basically, by leaving structures, car parts, etc. around the place, it would sort of guide anyone who came into the property along a pathway that would lead to the ambush.
Yeah.
And that's obviously information coming from the police as well. We do know that Stacey, the anti-vax former teacher, that she was wounded by police and she was given an opportunity to surrender, and she maintained firing at police.
Yeah.
So what's it tell you about intent? What's it tell you about? Firstly, what's it tell you about intent? And then what are we talking about here? Is this some kind of three-way suicide pact? Suicide pact by police? I mean, I don't really want to speculate. It seems that once Constables Rachel McCrow and Matthew Arnold were shot dead, that was sooner or later the trains were going to come to an end as well.
Yeah. I mean, like, once it started, the fact that they decided to execute the cops means that there was no chance they were going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, pinging, firing rounds at an armoured vehicle carrying 8 members of the CERT team, the CERT force.
Yeah, it's suicide by
basically
cop.
Tactical response. They're firing shots at an armoured van. I mean, they are telling you, this is going to be a firefight.
Yes, and there's only one way this is going to end.
And you're dealing with highly skilled, highly trained police who know how to. There would have been 8 in the car. I think there's 12 in the team. 8 in the car and 4 around the property moving in, and there's possibly one with a sort of 50 cal sniper rifle as well, keeping an eye on things.
And you'd think at this point they knew that there was no, say, like, hostages, or there was no sort of siege situation that made it tricky for them to go in there and just absolutely spray the place with bullets and do their thing.
While the police planned the response, the CERT team planned their response, and this took about probably 3 or 4 hours by the time they arrived there, and there were constant attempts to negotiate that were knocked back. That's the first thing. And there was concern that Stacey was an unwilling participant in this.
Was there?
They did think that, and that was as they rolled in. They saw her firing. She was firing at them, and they went, "Okay, all right, well, that's that theory knocked over."
So she kind of had an out here.
She may well have. Presumably we know a bit more about. She was a sort of victim of domestic violence at the hands of her second husband, Gareth.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be a highly controlling relationship, or controlled relationship with him, the controller, and so maybe it would be okay. She's kind of a victim here. Let's try and get her out. But no, and got to the point where she was shot and wounded, and given every opportunity to surrender. No, now we'll find out. Well, we'll probably never know what was going through her mind before she died. But, was this a sort of suicide pact? What we do know, without wanting to speculate too much on that, the thing that sort of chills me about it is it shows intent. You're going to go down. You're going to go down blazing. And it what we do know is that Gareth was as pilled to the back teeth.
Yeah.
And had, significant online social media history with the freedom movement. There've been a number of groups that he's been involved in. I think he had quite a lot of contact with Dave O'Neill's stuff, Joe.
Well, that's what's being said, and there is an interesting post from someone who said, I've got it down here somewhere. Where the fuck is this? This thing? God, you guys get a crap product on this one. Oh, yeah, that's right. Dunno, there was a mad cunt called Nathaniel on Davo's Thanos chat and this one, who was pretty loose with his comments, might have been that same bloke. And I mean, I think that might be a fairly large part of what they're sort of quoting here. Also, the fact that apparently he mentioned Dave O'Neill's in one of the Cairns News articles and things like that. That's right.
There was a reference to O'Neiglio. Look, and others as well. Ricardo Bozzi and was another one that was mentioned in that particular scree to Cairns News, which you would like to think would be shut down fairly soon.
Well, I mean, it's Telegram. I mean, I think he's turned off comments quite recently where he basically just sort of shit himself and went, fuck, I need to turn off comments because this is becoming really problematic. He did a video today, which I never watched Dave O'Neill's bullshit, but I did this one, and it was just whiny. But for the most part, and we can sort of get to this later when we start sort of covering the Cooker stuff, but it looks like a lot of this is heading towards a very warlike rhetoric for a decent amount of people. And I'm not sure if there's going to be a kickback from the rest. There might be division in the Cooker ranks as a result of this, but as I'm seeing, there's it's amping up, and the false flag thing is everywhere.
Yeah, and that